I want to make this one real quick, just a quick point. Um, there's I have seen some people try to defend Jacob here in that he didn't do any deception or had some kind of evil, made a mistake, bad intention, deception, right? That's so painfully wrong, painfully obviously wrong. Yeah, Jacob did screw up. He did do this. He conspired with his mom to deceive his father against Esau. Now, so see how truth works. Father makes a statement. It exists somewhere in the heavens. We might not know it, but this one we know because we could read. Or something exists. This is what's gonna happen, period. Jacob I chose, Esau I did not choose. I hated. See? Jacob wasn't the firstborn, but he became the firstborn because the Father's will be done. He chooses whom he chooses, has mercy on whom he has mercy. And so he did this deception and didn't realize it at the time, obviously. But eventually, you see, this came back on him and he was deceived. Worked for 7 years and got the wrong woman. Now, how could someone be that blind? Don't ever think you can't be blinded. He blinded Jacob. How could someone be that blind? I'm telling you, this applies for all things, anything. He can blind you. And this deception came back on him and that he was deceived. But see, this judgment, you can't see perfectly. You can't see what the Father's doing some statement could be, this is what's going to happen, period. I don't care how it happens. It could be through evil, through sin, through deception. And Jacob ended up being the first, the chosen. He got the birthright ultimately. And so my point is that people could be deceived so easily at any time, that's why it says the heart is deceitful above all things. It's deceitful above all things. So there could be some statement about your life or someone else's. This is what's going to happen because the Father said so. You might not know about it. And then it happens, but you might have done sin. You might have done deception. You might have been deceived or done this or that. And then ultimately the Father's plan and purpose comes through all of the evil. And that's something that some people can't accept or see. That's why I've seen people defend Jacob and say he didn't do this deception. He was righteous, all this stuff. As if righteous people never make mistakes, as if there's a such thing as, oh, I'm born righteous, I'm a good man. You are what you are by his grace only. Nobody's perfect and righteous because of themselves. You got to line up the scriptures all together. If the Messiah could do nothing of himself, then I surely can't do anything of myself. So we just have to admit that people make mistakes. Jacob did do this deception. He made a mistake through the ultimate purpose and plan of the Father. He still did this. He did it, and he got the birthright through that deception and evil. See, he created evil. He's going to use it for his purpose, however he wants. He's the creator. It's not my call or anyone else's. Someone could be deceived about something, and they obviously don't think they are. That's what deception is. You never believe you are deceived about anything. But they could be, and the Father's getting his purpose, his plan done through it all. Jacob I chose, Esau I hated. Jacob I chose, Esau I did not choose. Doesn't have some kind of carnal hatred for Esau. People actually believe, oh, I love Jacob because he's so good. And I hate Esau with bitter hatred, like a man, because he's so bad. As if Jacob was like better flesh than Esau's flesh. Come on. Prideful people teach these kind of teachings, They believe, they want to hang on to that a beast is good, that it can do good. That's what the scriptures teach from Genesis to Revelation, that humanity is not good and can do nothing good without the Father. And only true believers will finally get broken down and admit that and see that and actually believe that. Not just say it, they believe it. They can't do anything good, man. They can't without the Father working in them. Of myself, I can do nothing. Those aren't words that people really like or believe in the church world, you know. No, no, no. Of myself, I can do everything. He only helps those who help themselves first. And Jacob helped himself first. That's why he got the birthright. You know, he was a good man. He didn't do no deception. He didn't do any of this. No, it's because he was righteous and good and perfect, literally, you know. From the heart, he was good. Heart's not deceitful above all things. It's very good. It's the opposite. It's never deceitful. Its intentions are always good. The whole world got flooded because the intentions of the heart was evil continually. How many? All of them, except for a few that he had mercy on. And then you look down on and say, these were righteous people. Yeah, because the Father, because of our Creator, they were called righteous. Not because of themselves, not because it came from them. If the Messiah could do nothing of himself, then neither did Noah or the 7 others do something of themselves. Once a teaching is established and you see it spiritually, there's nothing in the world and nothing in Scripture that's going to contradict that, ever. Contradictions aren't true, they're lies. So it's an established, firm truth and teaching that of ourselves we can do nothing. Nothing. What's that mean, nothing? I can't run, I can't build things. It's not talking about that. Spiritually, of yourself, you can't do anything good, truly good, with good intentions. Because the heart is deceitful above all things, and Adam and Eve were naked. They were carnal. Revelation says what naked means. Blind, miserable, wretched, poor, naked. Miserable, wretched, blind, poor, naked, however the order is. That's what it means to be spiritually naked. So they were naked, which represents and means something spiritually also, because his word, all of it, has spiritual truth behind all of his words, you know, everything. His word is spirit. The word came from the prophets, which came from our Creator, and our Creator teaches spiritual things. So his word is spirit, all of it. I mean, Eve got covered, their sins, their nakedness, their shame was covered, but do people truly see and acknowledge and believe this spiritually? Or are they focusing on animal skins covering their bodies? Oh, Adam and Eve, they were naked, you know, doesn't mean anything. They were perfect people, perfect human beings in the Father's image perfectly that day. And from then and on, you know, people have been his image, have been perfect from nonsense. Major contradiction. The fact that it says they were naked means that they were carnal and not perfect. Perfect people don't lust and then cave into their lust and actually do them all the way in the flesh. It's the definition of missing the mark, sin. Corruption, deception, blind, miserable, wretched, naked, poor. Adam and Eve was the definition of that, and yet all the teachers in the church world teach that they were perfect. Everything about them was perfect, you know. Perfectly in the image of our Creator that day. They didn't know the difference between good and evil and couldn't choose and learn the difference between good and evil. They didn't truly have that in them. And then that's the Father's image. The Father doesn't know what good and evil is. Think about that for a second, of what they're implying when they say that they were perfectly in his image from that day forward. That means the Father didn't even have the knowledge of good and evil. If Adam and Eve were in his image that day, the perfect spiritual image of the Father, that means that the Father doesn't know good and evil and chooses wrong and screws up a lot of times, because that's what humans do. And if humans are in his image perfectly, well, this is the example and representation and image and picture of our Creator. Here it is. I don't think so. There's no gray area about that. That's just straight up blasphemy. That's a lack of understanding. spiritual truth. Jacob was blinded ultimately by our Creator. He didn't even know which woman was the right one. How could someone be that blind? I don't even think they were twins. He was just blinded, that's all. Because you can be blinded that easily if the Father allows it and purposes to be, for whatever reason, whatever judgment path, he'll do it through the evil he created, through the devil. I, Yahweh, our Yahuwah, deceives that prophet, quoting from the scriptures. His name, him, deceives that prophet. I will do it. I'll deceive him. Where did Paul get that people know of this verse? And strong delusion for those that don't love or have the truth. He sends a strong delusion. Where did he get that truth from? From the scriptures. He didn't make stuff up. Apostle Paul didn't make that up. He's got that from the scriptures. Anything he taught has to be in the scripture somewhere. That's why those Bereans search the scriptures daily to see if whatever he said was true. So I always like to go back to the scriptures, show me where it teaches whatever you're claiming in the scripture. Show me where it is, and they can't. They have to make things up and say, well, they received new revelation in the New Testament times. All of those old time saints didn't know who the Father was, that he was actually three, and any other truth, any other false doctrine. They make these things up. They say the scriptures don't actually teach this truth, that the Father is one and there's only one and he's the only creator, that all things came to be because of him alone, like the scriptures say. Me, myself, and I. Yeah, it does use those words. I, me, myself, I have done it. Saw no one else that could save these people, so I, with an outstretched hand, will save them for myself because of my own name and my own fame and glory. No one greater to swear to, so I swear by my own name. This is the Creator speaking through the prophets, his words. There's no other greater name. There's no second or third God. There's only his name. That's the greatest that he swears by, because there is no other greater name or equal. So then to become in the Father's image is a process of dying daily, being destroyed daily, same thing, taking up your stake and going to your death daily, right? Picture that. What are you carrying on you, and you're going with what? Your body, your flesh. And here's the tool, here's the thing where you're going to die on. You got to carry that, and then you got to die. Who and what you are has to die completely. And this is how you become in the Father's image, by going away, by dying to flesh and carnality and becoming spiritual and obedient to the Father and his will, his commandments. That's to become spiritual in his image. So it's a prophecy that someday all mankind will be in his image. Father said mankind, Adam, mankind was made in his image. Those words aren't going to fail. It looks like a lot of times whatever teaching there is or truth that comes from him is failing. It's not going to fail though. Mankind, Adam, will be in his image, like Genesis says. It's a prophecy. And those that are called saints are becoming in that image daily. And ultimately the rebirth, the true rebirth, happens when they ultimately are changed, when they die, or are changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, that the carnal man finally dies completely, 100%. He's not partial. He's not partial. It's just for a time. He's not ultimately partial, because all mankind has to go through this judgment, this death. So he's not partial. He's just choosing a few during the age of evil. to contrast the mercy with what evil is. But he's going to have mercy on all, just like the Apostle Paul understood, got it from the scriptures. Every knee will bow, every tongue will confess, um, to the Father's glory, not shame or contempt or anything stupid like that, evil, to his glory. And so I wanted to make this one short, on the shorter side. So that's what, a lot of times the scriptures don't say, here's what they did and here's the teaching. You just have to see it either somewhere else in scripture or be given it to be able to see that Jacob was a deceiver and then the deception came back on him. See, it doesn't say that word for word like that when it happened. It doesn't say what Abraham did right when he did whatever he did, or Lot, the sin he committed with his daughters. It doesn't just say it, but it just says what they did. See, you have to be able to discern what they did and what it's teaching. His word is teaching. He's the rewarder of good or evil, right? I'll take vengeance. I'll bring back on them. And usually in the same manner that you did, it comes back, right? So Jacob deceived, so that he got deceived. What could Jacob do about it? Tell me. A trillion years, a trillion times over, what could Jacob do about it? Nothing. It was coming to him someday, no matter what. And he couldn't stop it. So that's why you should fear the Father, because it's him working in you to both to will and to act and do his good pleasure, his will. He's going to get whatever he wants out of his people and judge the way he wants, which is righteous judgment, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, that only he could do truly, because he rewards people righteously. See, they did this, here's their punishment. I could do that because I know and see their hearts perfectly, because I'm the Father and they're my little children, disobedient. I'm going to give them whatever they deserve, whatever I say. That's the teaching I understand. That's who he is. So Jacob worked another 7 years, and it's interesting the word number 7 is used there. The perfect, complete thing, right? The perfect circle of completion, life. He got back on him, right? The perfect judgment. 7 more years because he married the wrong daughter. No one could be that blind. No one could be that blind. But see, that's what people are blinded. There's blind people in this world. Everyone's blind, corrupt, and deceived, but they don't think they are. They don't believe they are. Jacob didn't think he was deceived, and then boom, he got deceived. He was deceived because he was a deceiver. He deceived his father, and Esau made a plot against him, but ultimately his purpose got done through all that. Still, it doesn't say how it's going to happen. It just says, he says, Jacob I chose, period. And what happens in the details is whatever's going to happen, Jacob I will choose, and that's what happened. But anything could happen in between there, the details. So that's all in this one, People, deception is believing that you're not deceived. It's not knowing you're deceived. It's not acknowledging you're deceived. That's what deception means. You don't know it. You don't believe it or see it, obviously. If you saw it, you wouldn't be deceived, or I wouldn't be deceived or tricked. And then you have to learn, look back maybe. What on earth happened, why it happened, what you could do in the future. This is the process of dying. You would think dying would be easy for people, but this is actually the opposite of easy. Dying, oh, people are good at that, full of death and dying all the time, right? But no, this death is different. This death is giving up who and what you are and surrendering to the Creator, which means your pride has got to go bye-bye. It's got to be destroyed, which means you're not God after all. You're not the Creator or above people. People get prideful. They don't go around saying, I'm God, I'm God, I'm God, I'm the Creator. But they live like they are. They believe in their mind, rulers, masters, they get prideful with their positions and they believe and act like they are. And they'll spit on the poor people. That's what rich people do. Rich, powerful people, This is what happens. That's why it's not good to be filthy poor or filthy rich, somewhere in the middle, hopefully. Because both have their unique problems spiritually. And that's all in this one piece.